What's going on, everybody? BobbyFi and Eric Sheets Haber. Hope you're all having a great Wednesday. Coming off a really, really good night. Almost a great night. I had some real chances at a lot of things, but you know what? As Sheets says, we'll take it. And as he predictably said in advance, he said that I'm going to win 5 figures yesterday and then 6 figures today. Hopefully he's right about the second part, but he was right about the first part. So Sheets, great call. And how are you doing?
Part A, check. And we were right on it, man. I said, you should really just stick with, start with Curry and Murray, and deal with that last game. And you did a nice job with that. I wasn't sure if you were ever.
I actually didn't play Curry in any of the lineups.
I know that was the amazing thing, right? And I wasn't sure if you were ever. I mean, I was sweating like the last quarter. I wasn't sure if you were ever could win.
Were you looking at my FanDuel lineups too?
No, I was only looking at draft. You didn't tell me. You said all you said was chance of the 444. That's the only thing I looked at until afterwards when you texted me the results.
Yeah,
I can only sweat what I know about.
I won the 100. One of the smaller fives and one of the what's it called? But it looked like I was almost a sure thing to win that seat also. Which is like worth 25K or whatever. And then it looked like for sure I was winning the 44, which I ended up going from first to third in the last like 30 seconds of the game. But I really thought I was going to win all those things. And then the 444 was a little bit harder for me to win, but I could have come in second.
Yes, I thought so. I saw that too.
Yeah, that was go ahead.
Yeah, and I had a pretty decent night. I ended up sneaking into the money in the 444 myself down the stretch, even with the Durant lineup. So that worked out. And FanDuel, I got like 17, 17 or something like that in the 220, the 200 single entry over there. So I graded a profit. And most important is that I predicted the 5 figures. And let us not forget, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bobby was 2 for 2 in his gambling bets or his gambling recommendations last night. He had, if I'm not mistaken, it was Golden State outright plus or plus the points against the Nets, and also the Utah to blow out whoever they played.
Yeah.
So there was 2 for 2 as far as I was concerned last night.
4 for 5 on all my bets. The only one I got wrong was Royce O'Neal over on points, and that was that was really actually the way I could have won the 444. Actually, was what they usually do is Royce O'Neal will stay on the court a lot in the blowouts, but because their unit was struggling and they blew like a lead. He missed his last rotation, and Ingles ended up playing the extra 9 minutes, as well as the whole bench with Clarkson, Gobert, and then other bench guys. And with that last rotation, I needed him to get, he had a chance at a double-double, still an outside chance, but he had a real chance to, get a few more fantasy points. That's why I was going to win it. But yeah, I felt like I was pretty on last night. I've been doing pretty well with those bets, so I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep posting them on the site, and yeah.
All right, you ready to test it? Do you want to go over your lineups, or you want to just move on?
I mean, I can say real quickly, but I was sort of the same thing we did on the show.
That's all right.
I tried to call them up before, but like it's basically like on FanDuel, I mean, I had the obvious stuff, the Derek White, Reggie Jackson, but I had the DeJounte Murray, played Bogdanovich on that one that did well. Paul George. Gobert, and I actually played Tobias Harrison's lineup. The one lineup I had Tobias Harrison, which I really wish I didn't do, but at the same time, it worked out. So the main thing that really worked, obviously, was the DeJounte Paul George combination. Was pretty. Even though Curry outscored Murray by a little bit, it's basically was the nuts though, because Paul George's price and positioning and what you could do around those positions really did force you into a different type of build. So anyway.
All right, big slate tonight, a lot of value. That's even what we know about now. And a lot of value, which means that you can't play them all, which also means that, as usual, a couple of them are just going to get owned a lot more than the others. And we have to figure out which ones we're going to play, which ones are going to fade, and how we're going to attack it. It's a very, very challenging slate, not for the amateur, not for the weak. And let's see if we can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah, let's make some sense out of this, because it is going to be a tricky slate. All right, you want to pull up your screen?
Yeah, I'll pull this up.
Okay, and we'll get into game.
Dude, by the way, I'm like one day ahead of everything this week. Well, we got a chance to do our football yesterday, right?
Yeah, I love it.
And we did, I usually do my MMA Thursday, so I was able to do that today. You know, so I'm pushing it all out. So I might have like a day where I don't have to do anything, which is good. I could work on some of like the spreadsheets and more fun, more intellectual stuff as well.
Awesome.
Anyway, Washington against Charlotte. LaMelo Ball is 10,700 points. Wow. I guess I'll just start. I got nothing with respect to value, at least in this game. And when it comes to spend ups, I have probably even less. So you want to make a big slate seem small? Let's start with this 1-7 p.m. game. X, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the only thing that I would even consider would be Montrezl Harrell.
Oh no, I gotta use somebody from every game. God dang it.
What is that?
No. I was hoping to just exit, not worry about it.
No. I said I consider. I didn't say I'm gonna play him. I just said he's the only one worth considering that I had that on my list.
Okay.
And we can move forward.
All right.
Indy Detroit.
Okay. So I guess the first thing you always have to do when you see a Detroit game is see what Cade Cunningham's price is. And he is 6,100. He's not rating to be such a smash great play, but I kind of want to keep playing him just on principle. You know, I don't know. 6,100 seems fair though. We're not getting 3K anymore. We're not getting even 5,400 anymore. We probably won't get 7K for too much longer. But maybe it is a good price. Maybe you're supposed to just play this 6,100. That's on the Detroit side. Let me just see with respect to value if anything stands. That was more for spend ups. Not getting too much else actually on either side of this. You like anything except for Cade, or do you even like Cade, or where are you with this game?
Yeah, Cade is going to be the one of the top original guys for me. He's still cheap. Look, we don't need to talk about it. Guys aren't going to get there every single night, but we saw a real ceiling game the other day, and we should expect plenty more to come. He's very active offensively. He's terrific. He can really, really shoot it too. So if he gets going, you could see him put up an even bigger score one of these nights. I love Cade. I don't really think in this slate I need to play anybody else. I think Jeremy Grant is reasonable. I think you can make an argument for Brogdon and Sabonis, but I probably am not. I'm just going to leave that stuff alone on this slate. It's just not the right slate for me. So we can move on past Cade for me. But I really like Cade. He's a priority. He's the only guy I've got written down so far that I've got circled.
Me too. All right. Boston, Atlanta. The one thing I would point out, I got one guy, one value guy. Josh Richardson is 3,300. I have other guys that are even cheaper or around the same price that I like a little bit more. But just to point it out, Josh Richardson is 3,300 on another slate. Probably be a really, really good play. He's going to be lower owned than all these other guys. So he's my value guy from Boston. The other thing I would point out is that it's probably happened a zillion times. But just to point out that this is Al Horford going back to Atlanta. I don't know if he's going to play. If it's back to, I don't know what's going on with that. But I used to be told that Al Horford going back to Atlanta might be worth playing. I don't even have my projections right now, so I don't even know if he's playing. I don't know what's going on with it. But I figured I would just make a note to point that out. So for me, maybe Josh Richardson is kind of a fringe value play, and that's pretty much it for this game.
Yeah, the Josh Richardson thing is like that. If there's a slate where you don't feel like you have any value, that's fine. And he can still get there. So maybe just to play him and hope he gets there with through one of his ways. I think that Dennis Schroeder is going back to Atlanta too, and I think that's the guy who.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But I actually separately from that, as long as Jalen's out, his usage has been good. He hasn't produced every time, but he did put up 50 a couple games ago. I think he's an interesting play. And so he would be my favorite, followed by Tatum. And I probably am not going to get to either of them, but I'm okay with the Tatum idea. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to click on it. The main thing for me is going to be, unfortunately, he came off a huge game. I love Clint Capella here. 7,200. I feel like he's finally looks more like himself these days, and that comes with a big ceiling. So I'm going to take some shots probably on Capella. Probably going to leave out the Trae Young thing tonight. I actually think that the one other guy I didn't mention is Marcus Smart at 5,300 is sort of quietly just like averaging since Jalen's been gone. And was he averaging like 33? He's 5,300. So I guess Marcus Smart we should have in there as well. So Smart, Capella, it's a pretty good total game. So Smart, Capella, maybe if you're looking for another value, Richardson, but those would be my favorites with a little Schroeder if I end up stuck there. Schroeder is like it's a pretty solid play. So if he ends up low owned here, I think that you should go for it. But I actually think he's going to be fairly popular. All right, we can move on whenever you're ready. Yep. I do have to grab something while you introduce the game though, real quick.
Okay, Cleveland and Brooklyn. So this is an interesting philosophical discussion, which we'll get to the value in a second because I do want to talk to you about this. But with respect to the spend ups here, Rubio, and it's made she's a spend up, but Rubio at 6,500 still looks like a good play. And on the Brooklyn side, as far as spend ups go, Harden is honestly just okay for me, as is Durant. What's interesting is the value, and we talk about this a lot. What do you do in a situation where you have a guy like Dean Wade who's 3,200 and projects to be 7x, right? But you just know that he's just not a real high usage guy. That he's not gonna put up like 40, for example. And in an enormous slate, maybe you don't play a 3,200 guy like that. So that's my first comment is that he is rated to be right now the top point per dollar play on the slate. But do you play him? So we'll talk about that when you discuss this part of the game. Then the other one on Cleveland is again Chetty Osman at 4K. He rates to be a good value as well. And then more Brooklyn value, you can go right back to Patty Mills at 3,500. And then we can go back to my MVP of last night, Bruce Brown. I mean, every once in a while, man, he's on the court. He can do some stuff. He's 4K. He can get 30, did 30 yesterday. So I guess he's sort of in play. So for me, it's like mostly value pieces, I think, from this game.
Yeah, I think Patty Mills is the reasonable one at 3,500. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to play Bruce Brown is only 4K. That's totally reasonable. I'll have him on my list. I don't know where I stand with these guys. This is a very thin value. I don't understand why the projections are the way they are right now. It seems to be a lot. Seems like they're projecting a little bit more than I would be for these guys. The weird value guy I've got is Denzel Valentine. I think that there is an outside chance if he gets going. We've seen this before, and in like a weird game script, he can put up like 50 fantasy points. He has these monster outlier games, but it seems like everybody's being a little bit over projected. One of these guys is going to get there at least. Osman being the most likely, probably followed by Okoro, then Wade. Maybe you could say that could be switched because both minutes are pretty secure. They're just very low usage guys, which means with all this low usage guys, it makes Ricky Rubio a better play, makes Darius Garland a better play than he's going to get credit for. And we can definitely say it's a reasonable enough matchup. And I don't know if I'm going to play Garland. I think that Rubio is probably I'm a little more interested in Rubio, but I do think Garland he's mildly interesting. Patty Mills is the only one for me on the other side of the game. I think that I'll play one of those guys. I probably would lean with Osman as being my favorite to start off with. And I think that that Mills on the other side is an excellent play because you're going to have Mills at let's say he's 20% instead of like 70% or 60% like he was last night. It feels a lot better. You know what I mean? Because you're rooting for a guy who's very shooting dependent and he's going to play minutes. That's all we can ask for. Like all he has to do is, we need one of his hot games in your crushing. But it feels better to play him at 20% than 60%.
Do you have any, I would say, interest in considering either Blake or LaMarcus Aldridge sitting on the second end of the back-to-back, opening up minutes or usage for the other one, or something else from the Nets? Is that possible? Is that something that can happen?
I don't know who I wouldn't want it, either of them.
Okay.
If somebody was out, I guess you could make an argument for Griffin, kind of. You would normally need size against Cleveland, but their their three big guys are gone. Kevin Love is supposed to play tonight. If Kevin Love doesn't play, like, you're going to have to play those Cleveland value guys. You have no choice. But if he does play, it's going to, because it's just, that's why all these guys are projecting so well, because you've got no Mobley, no Sexton. Right. It's just, there's a lot of room there. It's an interesting spot. You're going to have to try and figure out one or two at least. Even in a blowout, I expect a couple of these guys to get there. I'll probably have to revisit that one at 6.
Well, go on to the next game, and I'm practically and sufficiently annoyed at Miami. I guess, like you said, maybe they just don't know, and maybe it's not their fault, but these guys are freaking questionable every day. And Butler's missed the last 3, right? Bam, I don't know if he missed the last 2, but he missed the last 1, that's for sure. And the way this freaking game is slotted at 7:30, it's a nasty slot, because you might not know by 7. Now, again, fortunately, Washington, Charlotte, Indiana, Detroit is not that big of a deal. But, it's definitely a little bit annoying that you're going to have to wait to get this, because if they're both out, then you're right back to Hero and Al, and all the other guys, but mostly Hero and Duncan Robinson. And then I had a pretty good performance out of Strus the other day. I mean, he was at 2%. I mean, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, let's not get like crazy. We just talked about the other value plays there. We know we're playing 35 minutes.
However, okay, but what I'm saying is that both those guys are out. Then, I mean,
and Dedmon, even if Dedmon's out, Strus is not going to be viable on this slate.
Okay.
Or Vincent. I mean, it's just, you could do it, but you're only doing it for ownership, because even their ceiling of minutes doesn't come close to the low end of minutes for the other guys. And
let me take a look at the prices of these guys, these other guys. Like Dedmon is still 4K, and even Dedmon's questionable. Oh my god. I mean, if Bam and Dedmon are both out, then PJ Tucker at 3,800, certainly makes, and he might make some sense anyway if just Bam is out. If all of them are in, I happen to like Bam a lot tonight, so it's just gonna have to wait. But if they're out, then again, Hero is like basically 100% usage when he's on the court. He literally, like, whenever he touches the ball, something happens. And if they're in, I think Bam's a really, really good play. And otherwise, it's completely irrelevant to speculate.
Yeah, I'm leaning to guess that some of them might be out. I think Bam's a really good play as well. I think Butler's fine too. But it's just hard to speculate. Like, we need to know who's playing. It's really, if they're all 3 out, it opens up a lot more things. If 2 of them are out, I can't run those. It's just too many bodies. There's probably another body they'll have that we don't even know of yet, because they're not going to put PJ Tucker on Joval. Like, you're going to tell me who's going to guard him? Duncan Robinson, because those are the 2 tallest guys in the team. And actually, no, Robinson's the tallest guy playing if those guys are out. It's just too weird. So I need to. They'll have somebody else out there, a body. Like Udonis Haslem will play minutes. Like, they're not going to put no bigs out there. So we just need to know who's playing. And I think we'll have a better idea by later on, maybe by the end of our show, probably, but somewhere around 6:30 Eastern, we should know by then, hopefully. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of interest outside of that in this game. It's just going to be, interested in seeing what's happening there. But otherwise, I'm not all that interested. I do think I would have some interest in Lowry. Lowry, if even just Butler was out, it's a really good matchup for him. So just keeping that in mind. And by the way, going back to one of the games we had, Robert Williams was just announced out. That is going to make Horford much more viable, even though he's expensive, but I think he's very, like, at 7,500. There's a lot, he's been decent for it. I don't think he's a great play, but I think he's a solid play now. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But other than that, we can move on. It's so hard to speculate in this Miami when they have the multiple stars injured. One star is one thing, but multiple stars is tough.
Okay, so do as I say, not as I do. coming into this next game. Nobody is projecting to be a particularly good play, I think, from either side of this. I guess the closest thing is Randall, but I am playing Cole Anthony going into Madison Square Garden. And that's just the way it's going to be. I'm not playing him a lot. I'm not playing my big lineup or anything like that, but I'm a little tilted that I missed the last time he was at Madison Square Garden when he freaking sealing the freaking crap out of the game. This is his freaking deal, man. And I've been to Madison Square Garden the last couple of times. The place rocks, and and he's actually been smashing anyway. So look, it's a tough price on a 100-game slate for him, but I'm gonna throw a couple in just as I like to say, just for funsies. And that's pretty much all I have from this game. Suggs looks kind of cheap, I guess, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and Suggs was just announced in, which would make me like Cole Anthony even better, but if he was out. But I actually think Suggs is interesting, and I like the Wendell Carter call. I think it's a cool to make a stand like that. Like that.
Cole Anthony.
I'm sorry, Cole Anthony. What did I say? Suggs?
Wendell Carter.
Oh, Wendell Carter. Oh, that was the only other guy who actually had showing up as a decent play here. But I don't like to attack that front line too much. But Carter and Bamba, one of them probably get there. I like Carter a little bit better. But I like the Cole Anthony long shot call. And then with the Knicks, I don't really have an incredible amount of interest. I'm just going to say, though, I'm going to start playing RJ Barrett because he's cheap enough where he doesn't need to have like a crazy game to get you 35, and he's 5,500. I think he's reasonable enough. I don't have anybody else who stands out to me for the Knicks, but we're going to see that Mitch Rob game one of these days at 3,800 where he puts up like 40 fantasy points. I just don't think, I don't know if this is the right time for it. So it's mostly going to be that for me. If they get behind, they tend to rely on Derrick Rose a lot. This is a game you don't think they'd get behind, but Derrick Rose is pretty cheap for a guy who just every like second or third game puts up like 30 to 40. But I don't know. I think it's mostly just going to be Barrett, if anything, for me. And same thing with Fournier that I keep saying is like it's begging us to try and play him at 4,500. I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't think.
And just in case.
It is his old team. I mean, if they were in Orlando, it does feel weird, like Fournier being so cheap. I know the minutes haven't been there because the way they're running their guard rotations. I don't know. All of these Knicks guards have run into the same issue every day. I feel like one of them could explode. I don't know. I have to revisit that one. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere with it, but it's just they've just got a lot of bodies that they can play in the backcourt, I guess.
I'll just throw a couple of things in there also, just to reiterate this point. So one thing that actually kind of helps. So Cole Anthony, you look at his game log here, and the DraftKings game log stops at October 27th. So we go beyond that. So on October 22nd, Orlando played at home against the Knicks, right? And they lost by 100, and they did nothing. He went into Madison Square Garden for the first time 2 days later. This is his line: 29 points, 16 rebounds. 6 or 7 from the line. It doesn't have fantasy points on Yahoo, but trust me, it was a lot. So it's off of the game log on DraftKings. So maybe whatever, and maybe it doesn't mean anything. But and he projects terrible. But I'm trying. Next.
I totally hear everything. The only what's funny is even if he goes off,
I know what he's going to get.
Can Orlando stay in the game long enough for him to really go off? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even if he goes up, he gets 60. Does that win? Maybe.
I think so. I think I would take 60.
I would try 60. I think so.
I'll give 60 a shot. All right. So do you want me to start off the Laker one?
Yeah, whatever you want.
I think Dalen Horton-Tucker is still too cheap.
Okay.
I think that the projection systems are going to agree with me. I would have thought. I mean,
I got him as a top 10. I got him at top 10.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking at him at almost, 7 point per dollar kind of a thing. And I think that's actually not that far off. I don't think it's right that he should be expected to get 30, but I think like his median should be like in the right close to 30, which makes him an awesome play at 4,800 because that means he's got a steal. And he put up 42 in the last game. I don't like, there's going to be slates where it hurts me. I'm not going to get into the Malik Monk thing. The prices on DraftKings make it pretty hard for me to talk in a matchup that's, not necessarily tough because it's a sped up game, but on the road in Milwaukee, there's some things to worry about here.
Yeah.
I wish I could see a little fire from Davis, because if he could get up for it, this could be a game where you could see him really try to take advantage. But after watching what Bam did to him defensively when they played the Heat, it kind of worried me about him against defenders like that. He actually, he looks great in a lot of games, but mostly the games where he's looked really good have been against pretty lousy opponents. So I'm sort of flirting with maybe taking a shot on one of these situations. They just don't have a guy who's going to stay in front of Westbrook now, whatever that means. They can't put George Hill on him. They can try with the Connaughtons and the Grayson. I mean, it's not going to work. And I don't know. So I'm mildly open to these guys at what seem like hard let at high prices. And then at the same time, you have on the other side, you have Giannis, who's just so crazily priced that it's not like anybody's going to play him. But the thing is that, like, he can. I mean, his downside is probably 50. Actually, his downside is probably last game he had where they got blown out 44, and he can get you 80 still. I'm open to Giannis. I don't think I'm going to end up doing it, but there might end up being enough value by the time this all slate starts. Chris Middleton is supposed to be coming back too, so that's a little bit of a boost down for him. And then I would have been interested in Drew Holiday. I actually think I still am interested in Drew Holiday, even with the Middleton coming back at 7,300. So Holiday, Davis, Holiday, Westbrook, then Davis would be my interest in this game, but it's pretty minimal at the moment. But I'm going to revisit it later.
I actually like the Lakers here. I really like Davis to have a good game. Whether he's going to have a good enough game to pay off that price tag on a big slate is for someone else to say. But he was really, really bad against Chicago and finished off a really, really bad day by getting ejected in a very fishy manner.
Very crazy manner. That was the worst ejections I've ever seen.
Yeah. Just pause for just a second.
Yeah. You were talking about Anthony Davis.
Right. So, and he got ejected in kind of a fishy way also. And, I think he's going to show up in this game. I think he's going to, do whatever he can to have a good game coming off of that last one. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. But is it going to be enough to play DFS wise on a 15-game slate? I don't know that either. But I'm probably going to at least sprinkle him a little bit in there.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to it. It's a really terrible matchup for him, but they're going to need one of he or Westbrook, and I just think that to even hang in the game. So unless somebody gets crazy out from the outside, which is possible, but
we talked about this. This is like win condition, right? So if you're going to play him, he's going to need to have a great game to stay in the game anyway. So he's like self-correlating. You know what I mean? I have no problem with playing him, and if they get blown out, then he's going to get 30 anyway. Who the hell cares? But if he is going to smash, then they can smash more. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that logic actually. So I'm with you. All right. You want to get ready for the next one? You want to start off?
And just to finish up, just to confirm, I don't have anything else from this game. Probably don't have anything from this game, honestly, but Davis would be my choice. And then I do actually agree with I have Taylor Tucker as a top 10. I do think that he was given a little, more run than he otherwise could have gotten. I mean, they left him in the end when everybody else was out.
That's what's sort of cool about him is like his minutes can go both ways. You know what I mean? He can get the extra minutes in the blowout, or he can get the extra minutes in the crunch time also. So you're probably getting a minimum of 27 or 28, but you've got a ceiling of like 38. So that's nice. But his minute projection right now, I'm looking at a 35-minute projection.
Yeah, I have a total aggregate again. I have 34. So
that seems a little ambitious, in my opinion, especially like Rondo's there too. Like there's other guys, Bradley, like who are going to get minutes. Even Bazemore, I don't think he's out of the rotation fully yet. Like, I don't know. It feels like a little thin to do that. And I want to can I start off our next game? Because I've got a very frustrating thing that I did the other night. Now I still made money on this slate, but it would have been not a 5-figure night, but it would have been like at least instead of winning like a few $100, I think I would have won probably 7,000 or 8,000. With the late news that broke, it was for Sacramento. So I needed a power forward the other night on Monday night slate, and I wanted a cheap one, and there wasn't the best options until later in the day. And then guys like Dean Wade, who I filtered in, and it ended up being a real big mistake for that particular slate because Too, who I've never seen like put up a real number before, even when he's played minutes, put up 36.5 fantasy points. And he was my guy who I was holding as a place filler for all these guys. And I think he's a good player, and I know they like him, and they like him on the court because they feel it helps them defensively. But Too, had I left him in, would have just put me right near the top in every tournament. It could have been a similar night to last night, actually, like the way it was looking. But anyway, I'm just saying that to start it off with that. Now he is going to show up with this. It's the opposite of what happens in golf, right, Sheets? Like if a guy dominates or does the best possible for his money, it's like people just jump off of him. In basketball, it's like all of a sudden the projections are projecting him to score 20. His projected points are
24 and a half now.
Yeah, 24. So for a guy who, and I know he put up 23 the 2 previous games in less minutes, but this is a guy who, I mean, we're used to playing this guy 24 minutes, 26 minutes, and you seeing like him put up like 3 or 5, like literally nothing. So maybe there is something different in his game. He is young, something to keep in mind. He can shoot it a little bit and he can rebound. And if you get that double-double, you're going to get 30 fantasy points, and that's all you really need. So I am okay with this matchup playing Too. I just want to say it's a little bit of a buyer beware. It's funny that people are going to be onto him now when no one had any interest in this guy whatsoever. I think he was like a 0.5% owned or something the other night, something nuts. And he was on the winning lineup.
Dude, I hate to interrupt you, but I'm still for that when. So this was, I think, the night that you weren't on the stream. I was doing it myself.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how steamed I am. With 8 minutes before lock, I had, it was just a Saberson created thing with ownership, whatever. I had 70% Too. Okay.
Oh my God, man. Oh my God.
Including in the big one. Okay. And I was doing my last minute, just looked through. I'm like, dude, I'm not playing him. And I X'd him out of every lineup.
Oh my God.
Live for everybody to see. I'm like, I'm not playing this guy. Boop. They all disappeared. So I feel you.
But you can use that same excuse. I think tonight he's going to be like 20% owned at the moment. That's what I think. That's not what my projections are looking at saying. That's
I have him at 17 right now.
Yeah, you look at the projected points per dollar. It's going to be hard to not see him getting owned some.
Right.
He's not my favorite play in this game, however. I really, really, really like Halliburton here. I think this is first of all, unbelievable matchup for him. He can get there in so many ways. He's way too cheap as it stands. I think his point projection should be closer to 35 on average here. And that means, and he's got a 60+ ceiling, even with Fox at all. I don't care. I'll even play him on FanDuel possibly at 6,700. I think he's going to get 40+. I have a strong feeling about it. I also think Rashawn Holmes, this is the kind of matchup. I went through yesterday's sheets on the live. I don't know if you saw any of that, but I was showing all these numbers against Minnesota. Like, Hartenstein scored 39 fantasy points against Minnesota. The other night, I can't remember who else it was that had their career high.
You were mentioning that sometimes Cat just literally goes Olay and just steps away from the play.
Yeah, well, he'll go to contest like on a shot or something, whether it's a 3-pointer or whether it's a guy in the paint. And it's like his energy, that's it. That's the end of the play for him. He contested his shot. Now somebody else can go get the rebound. But what happens is the teams just kill him on the offensive boards. Oh, I know who it was. What's his name? Had 12 offensive rebounds against them the other night. Somebody nuts. I can't remember who it was, but it was like somebody who never has done anything for anyone. So Rashawn Holmes is like the definition of that guy. Now, I don't love the price. It does feel thin on this slate to play Rashawn Holmes. But if you wanted a matchup that screams Rashawn Holmes, this is one of them. And that's sort of a little bit like what I was saying last night. Sorry, I guess I was saying it the other night. But I just think this is a really, like, it's an interesting spot. And I like Harrison Barnes as a middling play. If you ended up needing it. He's had a couple of downish games, and I don't love him with Halliburton back, but I'm just saying, I just think this is a really good game to target. And I'm trying to find excuses for guys to play. Unfortunately, Jaden McDaniels never actually really moves, but we say that, we joke about him, but 2 games ago, he put up 29 at 3,100. You would take 29. Jared Vanderbilt could eat away from him. He could be a play. Patrick Beverly, I think people are going to like, and they're going to want him out there. I'm okay with it, but it's always nerve-wracking to play a guy who's projecting well as Patrick Beverly. I like D'Angelo Russell here, and I like Anthony Edwards here, and I like Karl Anthony Towns. I just don't have them all figured out. The one who might be most interesting is what Anthony Edwards is doing. You look at him in his last game, he only took 11 shots, 2 for 11 from the floor. And then he just goes and rebounds like crazy. He's just too active not to be doing something on the court. He put up 38 fantasy points while shooting 2 for 11. How can that not be a little bit interesting in a good pace matchup against a team that we know against shooting guards gets crushed? So Russell or Edwards or Towns, but I would think I would lean Edwards at the moment with Russell second, Towns third. And then on the other side, it's Halliburton, potentially Holmes, and me too. And you get a nice little mini game stack over on this one. I think it's a really good game.
Yeah. I like Beverly at 4,200. Midu shows up. We talked about that already. Edwards, I like 8,100. That's fine. But yeah, and Russell 7,300 looks like an extremely strong play. He's a really, really good play, I think.
Yeah, just keep in mind that, a lot of his big games that we're thinking of were before Anthony Edwards was officially Anthony Edwards. But I agree with you. And by the way, you can play, usually it'd be, there's somewhat negative correlation. Maybe it's too big of a slate. So if you're going to play 2 lineups, maybe you play one of them in each if you like them that much. But you can actually play them together if you want to play a Halliburton, Holmes, me too on the comeback. I think it's viable. I just think this game is going to have a lot of fantasy points to it. And all Minnesota does is play isolation basketball, which basically means whichever guy gets going, it's fine. Did you see the play the other day? There was a shaking at the top of the key. Edwards, they just had inbounds the ball. They did just pass the ball across half court. Edwards, he did like one little shake move and just stayed in the same place. And Karl Anthony Towns just walked back down to the defensive side of the court. He just knew he was shooting the ball, which is funny because you'd think at least attack the basket or something. Karl, this team does so many things that are awful to watch for a basketball fan. By the way, all of these guys get a bigger boost if there's no Naz Reid and Josh Okogie. Okay. It's tighter. And even, look, I hate to keep adding names from a game that I don't love, and these guys are not all projecting well. But I'm just going to say Malik Beasley on 4 for 14 the other night, 32 fantasy points. The guy's going to jack up some threes. He's going to make some of them. And if you get a pace up game and you lose Reed and Okogie, he's going to pick up a lot of minutes. So that 27 minutes for him could turn into 30 plus. 27 is even pretty good for him as 4,100. That whole game is a game that I feel like we can target in a lot of different ways. So I have that one circled. High and tight is what we like. And I really think it's a good pace game for both teams. So I'm into it. I also like Sacramento to win for what it's worth.
Okay.
All right, we get the battle of the bottom, right? You want to start this one off?
Why don't you start this one?
Okay. So this is it's projection systems, and I think for good reason, but it's almost like they watch Josh Giddey play, because if you watch him play, even when he's not doing everything, it feels like he's doing everything. He's really good. He takes away a little bit from Shea this year, even though Shea's been great, but I just think that the usage, sort of being split between those guys on the offensive end. I don't think I can get to Shea on DraftKings, but I think if there was a game to try to get to him, it might be this one. And I think on FanDuel, he's going to be interesting at 7,900. You can't get a better matchup than playing against Houston. The only problem is, can they score enough points? It's weird because I actually feel like Oklahoma City should be a bigger favorite because they're a much better team than Houston is. But at the same time, they're not playing to win. So it's sort of like the battle of the we don't cares. All right, let me start this one. I think that Jalen Greene is getting to the point of cheap enough to where we should take some shots on him. You do have a little bit of, if you get any little narrative for Jalen Greene is a good enough reason to play him for me. He played, he took a bunch of shots, played well in that game against Cade. But he's just where's the ceiling with the way that they're playing? If Kevin Porter Jr. is out, I think he becomes like a smash play. I hate that expression, but I just said it anyway. Jalen Greene is definitely going to be he's one of the guys who I'm considering as one of my lower own. I think Christian Wood we get Christian Wood in a game, they can actually stay in the game. So all of his numbers are based on like getting blown out like 75% of the time. This is a game they could be able to hang in, especially if Kevin Porter's out. I like Wood a lot. I mean, it's weird to really love these really garbage games. But I also like Sengun, which is interesting, but I think he can play with him enough. Sengun is a guy, if you watch him play, you'll understand why at 4K, even though he doesn't put up these huge numbers, that everybody likes him and everybody thinks he's going to be, he's a guy we should be playing and stuff, because he really can do a lot out there. He looks very active. I don't know where else I want to go on the OKC side, but I do think Giddey is a reasonable play. Probably not as good of a play as the projection systems will lead you to believe on DraftKings. I do like him on FanDuel. The weird one in this game for me is it's always aberrations. You never know who's going to be for these guys. But Jeremiah Robinson Earl put up 28 in the last game. He's 3,500. It's very thin. Probably not going to be able to do that. Dort in close games. We've seen him have some good games in these close ones. But it's not like incredibly enticing. this is another game that I feel like is stackable. But I think my main pieces are going to be Shea on FanDuel, Giddey on FanDuel, Dort potentially on DraftKings, Jalen Greene on DraftKings, and FanDuel probably. And Sengun, but Christian Wood is my favorite, and all those other guys come just after him. I think Jalen Greene and Christian Wood are right there, neck and neck. If Kevin Porter's out, and we may not know till after lock, that's a big bump for these guys. So just keep an eye on that one. And I'll try to readdress that one later.
Yeah, for me, the majority of this, actually that's not true, but I would say the majority of this comes from FanDuel. But I do like Christian Wood on DraftKings as well. But when it comes to Josh Giddey, I mean, you thought smash play was something you don't like to say. Well, I got another one for you. I think Giddey's like almost a lock at 5,300 on FanDuel. Now, again, you can't be a lock in a 1,500,000 game slate, whatever it is. But I'll just say that he's priced extremely soft over there. He's 5,300. He's going to be owned, but that is what it is. Between him and Brunson at those guard positions, and that's some good value over there. So I do like him, and I like Christian Wood over there as well. So I can do that. I could do some Shea over on FanDuel also. So you could do some Shea and Giddey and Wood. I mean, you could create a little something out of that game. And, like you said, just because it's a bad team doesn't mean that they play good defense.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, right. So, I'm kind of into it a little bit.
Yeah, but we're coming up on the game where all the value is. There's the most obvious play in the world in this Dallas Phoenix game, and that's Jalen.
Two of them.
So here's where I'm going to push back a little bit, and I am going to play some of this guy tonight. So I'm going to make this clear. But if does not mean Kristaps is about to go nuts. Okay, let me just make that clear. Without Luka, sure, of course it's a boost in general. Sure, all of this stuff. It's not like they run the offense through Kristaps. They run the same offense when he's in the game or when he's not. It's going to be Jalen Brunson pick and roll. It's going to be Tim Hardaway Jr. pick and roll. It'll even be some Reggie Bullock pick and roll. And that'll end up dividing to be about as much, I think, as Luka pick and rolls usually get. Tim Hardaway, I mean, Luka's had more pick and roll basketball this season, or pick and pop, which does sort of benefit Kristaps in a way. But it's not like Kristaps is going to go from like a 28% usage guy to a 35 tonight. I just don't see that as being the case. I still think at 7,400, it's a reasonable play. And by the way, I'd be talking about playing him even if Luka was playing. But I mean, as it stands right now, I have it. Brunson is number one and very, very hard to fade. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be so popular that I want to make an argument for fading him, but the price is so tough to do that with. But maybe you could play Reggie Bullock instead at 3K. I know it's not the most exciting play, but he's going to play a boatload of minutes, and that's mildly interesting to me. Even a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, because I think that he could, the usage, the guys who don't have usage that will gain some usage are guys like Bullock and Finney-Smith, just because somebody has to do something. The guys who are going to eat up the usage are going to be Brunson, Hardaway, and Kristaps. I just don't think Kristaps is this automatic lock, and I just want to make that clear. But I do think he is a great play. I think if you were playing cash, it would make sense to start there, but it's like, or start with he and Brunson. But just remember, like, he's not the kind of guy who you're going to give it to down in the post. He's not going to gain every bit of usage that Luka was having. Sheets, is this making sense to you at all, or what do you think on this?
Yeah, so I have it a little different on the various sites. So with on let's start with DraftKings. So on DraftKings, I think that Brunson is you know, I think both Brunson and Kristaps are really, really strong plays, but I think that Brunson is clearly the one you want to start with. And I just have Brunson rated really, really high. Kristaps rated really high. So I don't know what to tell you. And then I do have Bullock at 3K as a possible value over there. When it comes to Hardaway, he's like okay here on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, I think he's kind of a tougher fade on FanDuel than on DraftKings. He's only 5,200.
Pretty much the same on both. Yeah. Go ahead, shoot. Sorry.
You can put him on small. You can put him small forward over there.
That helps. Yeah.
So but I mean, you could always fade. I mean, is he that much better than Taylor Horton Tucker at 5,200? Probably not.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. But I also don't think that Brunson is as much of a smash on FanDuel, obviously, because of his price over there. I mean, he's a full 5,800 over there. So I think Brunson on DraftKings is a tough fade. I do like Kristaps on DraftKings, and I like I think Brett Hardaway's a tougher fade on FanDuel, but I always like fading him for some reason. So, and I don't really like Kristaps that much on FanDuel, which I usually do. I usually like him more on FanDuel on DraftKings. So this is kind of like throwing me for a loop a little, maybe because the position
the price. They made him 8,800 on FanDuel, which I would encourage everybody, if you're going to play him on FanDuel. He benefits better from this stuff anyway, because the shot block, people think that's a little thing. I mean, that's how he gets a lot of his fantasy points a lot of the time. And like, this is a guy who could get 5 of those. That's 15 fantasy points on its own. So I actually love the idea of playing Kristaps on FanDuel where he doesn't make as much sense. But it's the same. See, it's like the old argument we have. You know, if you're going to play a guy on one side, why wouldn't you consider him?
Well, and the other issue. Let us not forget that this game could be a shit show.
I think that would be another bet of mine, is that Phoenix covers the 8.5. I really think they will. So
you would think. I mean,
that's what I do think.
No, but I'm even thinking about from a DraftKings perspective and a FanDuel perspective. I mean, like these guys are not these starters specifically are no locks here.
No.
So yeah.
No, it's a weird one. I mean, we'll revisit at the end because I actually have a smaller pool of players than I normally do. But
you like anybody on Phoenix?
Yeah, I like DeAndre Ayton a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a weird one because the numbers, like everything's, I'd be like, oh, he has to be so efficient. I'm like, yeah, but he's shooting at the basket every time. Like, but that's because he shot 10 for 14. I'm like, yeah, but he was at all 14 were like within 5 feet, you know? Mm-hmm. They don't have a big matchup with him. He can stretch someone out. I don't think he'll get blowout minute runs. Like, I mean, blowout run is always different. There's different ways it could happen. Like I said, Royce O'Neal usually would have gotten the extra run, not Joe Ingles, the old man Ingles last night. But it just happened to be that Ingles had come off and they brought him back in with the other guys because the other unit was getting crushed and they had no way to create offense. So who knows? But I just think Ayton is, he'll play in 30 minutes. I expect him to have 35 fantasy points at 6,200. He's also got a ceiling of like 60. So I definitely like that play.
Yeah, I do too. I don't have him as high rated as different prices, but as Christian Wood or certainly Bam, but I have Ayton above everybody else. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I actually like Ayton more than Capella.
Yeah.
So yeah. You want to move on to Chicago,
Portland? This is another one I have a take on. I like Chicago to win this game. Tell me if you've heard this one before. I say it every time. I've been wrong so far once when I picked the Chicago, and that was against Golden State, who is another team I just bet on every time except for that one day against Chicago. But I really like Chicago to win this game. I also think this is a great spot. I'm very frustrated because I think everyone's going to be on Lonzo tonight. And Lonzo is a highly volatile fantasy player. He's become a terrific real life player. And I mean, look at the Bulls, man. Like I just, there's a couple teams that like literally they make me so happy. I get like teary-eyed talking about them. The Bulls are one of them. Partially because they're all like my old guys, you know, Lonzo, Levine, these are UCLA guys. And Lonzo was a Laker as well. But I love Caruso. He's our guy too. You know what I mean? And then I've always been a DDR fan because he's Kobe obsessed. I love this team. I really like them. This is another great game environment that we could possibly stack some stuff up. I just don't love the ownership that's currently showing for Ball and Caruso. Caruso really against that in that Laker game the other night. It's almost like he felt like too much for the people there, and he just didn't take any. He took one shot. It's the only time in the season he's only taken one shot in the game. It was going back to LA. It's like a reverse narrative thing worked on him, which is sort of how it is for some guys. Great game environment though, so I understand it, but I just don't want to play him at high ownership, and there's other value I would play. But I do think he's on the list of value. I do think like it's interesting what happens with Tony Bradley. I sort of got onto him late again in that Laker game because I thought he'd get minutes, and he sure got minutes, 27 minutes. If you would have said 27 minutes for Tony Bradley, he would have been like a lock for everybody. Yeah. It was a fluctuating 22 that we were working, or 20 that we were working off of. If he, like, this is another one, Portland doesn't need to play big. They have the Nurkic minutes, but there's really nobody else for the Bulls have to guard Nurkic. Like they just don't, they don't have anybody. I mean, you could put Derek Jones, who's like 6'6" or 6'5" on him. I don't think that's going to work. I don't know, man. I like this game. I think if I had to rate the Levine DeRozan thing, the DeRozan even at 8,900, I really like him. And but if there's a spot where Levine was going to get off this, I mean, I keep saying that about him. He's playing great. They're just balanced a little bit, you know. So I like both of them. I think I'd give the slight edge, I guess, to DeMar. I do still like Lonzo, even though he's going to be really popular, which feels just wrong because he was 4% the other night at 6,500. And then on the other side, we have Norman Powell questionable and Damian Lillard questionable, which just means probably the same thing it meant. If we can play that Dallas game, if we can play that Dallas Phoenix, if we don't know, and then stack up some of these late guys. Remember, like if one of those guys, even if it's Powell, that means Anthony Simons is going to be in play again. If Lillard and Powell are out, Anthony Simons is a lock, right? Complete lock.
Yep.
And then you've got, McCollum, who at 8K, you may not want to play, but you can put him in your lineups and find some 2v2 switches. We just mentioned all the guys from Dallas you can play. So I would encourage to backload again. It's been working every day for me. Like, I mean, the only frustrating part about it is it's amazing. You get to watch yourself from, like me last night in the 444, go from literally well outside the money, but I knew I was in great shape because I had nothing bet, no negatives. But then all of a sudden you're right there and you have, oh my God, I've got twice as much minutes as anybody in the top 50 left. I'm going to win this whole thing. And then, some other stuff happens and you realize you got to catch, you got to hold off a lot of people. But it is the right strategy to me today. Sorry, Sheets, I'll let you talk. I sort of went on.
No, that's fine. The good thing is that if you backload stuff, I mean, you could flip flop between this Dallas value and Portland stuff, if you have to, because they're different prices over in the Dallas stuff too. Between Brunson, then you go down to Bullock if you need to, and you can play double with Hardaway and all this stuff. So you can do that. I will say that right now, again, this is just what I have now, is the best point per dollar play is the guy you mentioned before, is Tony Bradley. And what's interesting is that he's I had that based off of only 22 and a half minute projection. So like you said, I mean, if you think he has 27-minute upside, I mean, this is probably a decent value play. Now again, is he going to get 40? No, but I mean, he's certainly as good of a value play as far as I'm concerned, as like a me too, or a Dean Wade at a different position or something like that. So I don't know, or a Naz Reid. I mean, I've been talking about Naz Reid, but whatever. I think he's better play than Naz Reid, who's 3K, and he'll project it five times. I wonder if Chicago is too balanced to play these guys, like you kind of alluded to. Remember, like Lonzo played great against the Lakers, and DeRozan played great against the Lakers, and Levine just did what he just basically let the other two play great. You know what I mean? Like he got his 40, whatever it is. Between that and Bradley and Caruso, I just feel as though this is, like you said, I think if you're going to add exposure to this team, I think you're better off just keep betting them. You know what I mean? Like you're saying. I think that they're better real life bet than trying to identify one of them to be mispriced enough or ceilinged enough to play today. So I'm probably not going to do any of the better guys in Chicago. And the guy, obviously, I mean, I can keep, Lillard, problem with Lillard, he's been playing 40 minutes and he just hasn't, can't crack that, can't crack those numbers that we need, So I'm probably off of that. I'll just, wait on value. And like you said, if Lillard's out, then you go with the McCollum and Simons, whatever. And if they're both out, then with Powell out, then you got to play, I guess, both McCollum and Simons.
Yeah, and with just Powell out, Simons or Nasir Little, one of those two.
Nasir Little, if you're on that.
Yeah. And maybe even Covington would get a little bit of a boost too.
Well, and the good news is there's a little bit of a break. From 8 o'clock to 10.
There's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go through my favorite plays. If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham. This is not in order. This is just the guys who I have my priorities. Tyrese Halliburton, Taylor Horton Tucker. I will have some Me Too. Patty Mills, Chetty Osman, Okoro or Wade, probably Osman for me. Reggie Bullock, Jalen Brunson is almost a very hard fade for me to get my head around. Jalen Greene, the whole Sacramento, Minnesota game, the last two games, Phoenix and Portland games. DeAndre Ayton. I do have Kristaps in here, but it's because he's in one of those last games. If it was a 5 o'clock game, I don't know that I would have him as high of a priority because I actually like the idea of thinking about the fade. And then one of Towns, Edwards, or Russell, I'm leaning towards Edwards. And I want to make it really clear that I'm going to be trying to go out of my way to I will even play some guys like Caruso, who I was saying that felt like a little fishy to play at chalk on this kind of a slate. But you can play those guys and then see what happens by the time the late night game starts. Now, if we find out about it all before lock, that you don't need to do that as much, but it's very unlikely we will, and we haven't so far. So buying yourself that extra time can just, be infinitely valuable and certainly helped last night for me. So anyway, Sheets, take it away.
I think all three of those Minnesota guys I like, Cat, Russell, and Edwards. I think Brunson's the top play on the slate, and on DraftKings I like Porzingis, not as much on FanDuel. Watch the Miami news, obviously. I think if you get no Butler and Bam plays, then Bam, the discount man. Even if they both play, I still like Bam. Yeah. And if they're both out, then you guys just got to keep playing Hero. He just touches the ball too much when those guys are out. And then
or Lowry.
Okay, or Lowry too. And if Dedmon's out too, then what do you do? Play PJ Tucker? Do Udonis Haslem play? I mean,
I don't think we're not going to play Udonis Haslem, but I don't think they're going to leave PJ Tucker in there the whole time against that size.
Who else is even there? I mean,
Haslem. I mean, he was their coach, and now he's their player again. 40 some odd years. What a great guy.
Yeah. Rubio, I like him. Christian Wood.
Yep.
My favorite guy on the Chicago side, by the way, is Levine. But I'd probably, I don't know, maybe I'll try.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, Sheets, will you be with me at 6?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. So we'll be with you guys at 6, and let's crush it tonight. I know this is a long one, but this is a tough slate, and there's something really valuable in going through all these guys. And I'll have a more condensed thing. I'll also post all my plays on TrueDFS.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that stuff, guys, and make sure to check out. The plays and the bets have been working. I mean, look, I just put about 4 or 5 of them out, usually a day, sometimes as many as 8 or 9, and let's crush it today. But get in our Discord as well, which I will attach to the video. Good luck, everybody.
All right, Bobby. I'll see you.